So I'm going to show you my 100-gallon spray tank. So again, this is a small one. It's just 100 gallons. I got it like a couple years ago just because I had a few customers that were requesting it, and I thought, maybe I'll look into it. I asked around. I asked where I get all my other tools from and equipment, and they said, you know what, Cub Cadet is selling out of their spray tanks, and so they're giving out really good deals right now. So this 100-gallon was the last Cub Cadet 100-gallon at their facility, the last one probably ever made, and I bought it because it was at a good deal. They had this 100-gallon one, and they had a 300-gallon spray tank. Had I known now, had I known then that I would have loved to spray, I would have paid a little bit extra and got the 300-gallon. So if you ever get the option for a 100-gallon or a 300-gallon, go with the 300-gallon. I'm telling you, you will not be disappointed. To fill them up, yeah, it costs a lot of money with all the chemicals if you actually fill it up with 300 gallons, but you can spray so many lawns with a 300-gallon one. With this 100 gallons, I mean, sometimes I could stretch it out to 15 lawns, maybe a little bit more, 18 lawns. And sometimes I can only do 10 if they're really big properties like HOAs or something like that. So I have to come back and refill it like I did today. So now I'm only going to do 50 gallons today because I already sprayed most of my list. I only have a couple left to do. But yeah, I also have this backpack with Roundup because we have a service too where we spray gardens and driveways and sidewalks, and sometimes that's the only thing we do for that customer ever. And so when we have those calls or we have that service on our list for that day, I take it on this truck. Now this is my 93 Dodge Ram, and it's just dedicated to that spray tank. I also have that toolbox full of besides like my lawn signs and lawn stakes and the gloves and the labels for my chemicals, I also have sprinkler parts in here. So this little bucket is for like my lawn signs, the stakes, gloves, chemical resistant gloves, and then I also have sprinkler parts, nozzles, sprinklers, and then all the tools for sprinklers. I used to have a dedicated truck that I had a toolbox just to go out and do sprinklers, but a lot of times we needed the truck to haul more mulch or debris, so I ended up just putting it on the spray truck because I know that I'm never going to take the tank off, at least during the spray season. So anyway, it's got one of these electric reels. It's awesome. Having an electric reel, I would never go to a manual turn one. It's so easy to do it like this. I bet you the cost for an electric one isn't really that much. You just have to buy a battery and then put the connections on. I mean, anyway, I probably wouldn't be able to do it myself, but I would hire somebody to do it probably. But Kawasaki engine. The only issue I ever had with this engine was this little plug right here that goes into this little rod. When it's plugged in, I guess it's an oil sensor, and so there was a malfunction where the machine thought it didn't have any oil in it, so it would not start and I was pulling it and pulling it for at least an hour, because I was way out there. I was so far, I didn't want to have to come all the way back and then go all the way back out. So I didn't want to give up on it, but after so long, you can only try for so long. I had to give up, and I took it to the shop, and then they showed me that little plug. They unplugged it, and it started right away. And they basically told me that that's the only problem any of these engines ever has, is that that little rod or lever, whatever you want to call it, it makes the machine thinks that there's no oil in it, so it won't let you start it. So if you just unplug it and just make sure your oil levels are good just by looking at it, I mean, you can see the oil, so I don't know. I'm not too worried about it. This machine's really easy to maintain. I only had it at the start of the season. I have it checked. They change the oil, and they basically run everything and make sure that it's clean and working good. And they did tell me that I'm going to need some things. They wrote it down. It's kind of hard for me to remember what it is or pronounce. But they said that I need to call a supplier and order that, so when it does go down, they'll have the part ready for me. So it is good to check it at the beginning of the year. You know, other than that, I don't really know too much about it. Anytime, like I said, nothing's ever really happened to it yet. This is my first one, and it's 100 gallons, and I'm okay with 100 gallon. I'm not so busy that I have to get a 200 or 300 gallon tank yet. I think I'm actually quite a ways away from that, but every year we get more customers, more spray customers, so there'll be a time where we'll need to upgrade, and I may end up you know, selling this one and upgrading to a 300 gallon one. But if you ever get the option of a 100 gallon or 200 gallon or 300 gallon right at the beginning, get the biggest one you can, just because you'll realize real quick that you wish you had a bigger gallon tank. So anyway, I just wanted to show you my little setup there. So Taylor got a 300 gallon spray tank. Oh, sorry. 300 gallons, so he's hoping to do between 45 residential lawns to 60 with one full tank. That is awesome. And here's the engine, and this gauge right here is where you adjust the pressure, because most spray tanks pretty much all look the same right there, so I just wanted to point that out. 300 gallon tank. He's going to put this tank on another truck as soon as he can, because as you can see, it gets pretty low right there. It's pretty heavy.